pledge
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Under God,
with liberty and
indivisible,
justice for all.
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Do we have roll call?
Lois Tiley. Diana Coots.
Here,
Christine Newman.
Here.
Richard Horner.
Here.
Jim McPhail.
Here.
Diane Dennis.
here,
And Sarah Tiley. Absent.
May I ask who just joined the call? Okay.
Apparently don't want to talk to us.
yeah, I couldn't hear who that was too. How many people are present out of the council members in chambers tonight?
3.
Can everybody be sure they have their microphone on? So we can hear them?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
There are not.
If not, motion to approve it?
So moved. Newman.
I'll second. McPhail.
Support? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approve, agenda's approved. Any announcements or public comments? If so, please stand, state your name before you start speaking. Or as you start speaking.
This is Hart. I have one announcement. Bad news on the grant front, as far as the Category B Village grant. We did not get the grant. MDOT received 111 applications totaling $18.2 million. And they had appropriated only $3 million. So I regret to inform you that, but we'll keep trying.
Do we know who got them or what it was for?
Not at this time. I can look. It's not posted yet.
We keep trying.
Anything else? Let's move on to the Spicer Engineering Report. Good evening, can anybody have any? Yeah, I can hear you, Don.
Good. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. We did have a very good meeting with the USDA Rural Development folks to talk about the water system application. I think you read in my report that there are both low interest loans and grants available, and it's looking like there's a good chance of getting grants.
Good.
Good.
So with that, I'd be more than happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions of John?
Yeah, I do have one. This is Diana. What you are, Fulton Street and Hosmer Street thing is delayed. Was there a specific reason why, it's going to be coming down pretty much in the fall when our weather is really bad? I'm wondering why it was pushed back so late.
Eric Construction had a delay of about 4 months that they were not working, and they're finishing up another job right now. And as soon as they are done with that, they're coming to St. Charles, and they'll be in and out of town probably in 1 to 2 weeks. It'll take to get that project done. So
Okay.
they'll be in and out pretty quick, and they're looking at coming in right after Labor Day. So
Okay.
there's still
Okay.
plenty of time for them to get in and out and get restoration done yet this fall.
Okie doke. I'm always concerned when we're running into that.
Yeah, yep.
Hey, John, what are they doing right outside of town here on 52?
Adam Flory.
has joined the meeting.
Jim, I didn't hear what you said.
What are they doing just on 52 outside of town here?
They are replacing the culvert at Wolf Creek.
Were they
And
damaged
as a
because
part
of
of
the
that,
flood?
they are also gonna be, lowering a water main, probably starting Monday. So it's a culvert replacement underneath M52.
Okay.
John, just to let you know, after that rural development meeting that I had, I reached out to Dickinson Wright for bond counsel. I worked on a project with them, a $23 million medical care facility project in 16-17, and they responded quickly, and we do have bond counsel ready to go for our application.
Great. Dickinson Wright is a great company. They know what they're doing, and I recommend them. They're a good company.
Awesome.
So, the other thing that came out of that meeting was we do need to have a authorization for someone from the village to sign, for the application, and typically that would be the village manager. So at some point in the meeting, we should have a motion to authorize somebody, probably Hart, to be the authorized representative for the village.
It is agenda
Can we
item.
do that right now?
It is agenda item D under new business.
Great, and you got it taken care of.
Oh, yeah. Okay, any other questions of John?
No, thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks
You
a lot,
have a good
John.
night. I'm gonna bow out.
Thank you, John.
All right, thanks, John.
Okay.
He's over.
Good night, John.
Okay.
Good night, John.
Has left the meeting.
Okay, let's move on. We got the council minutes, for July 8th. Any questions on those? If not, do I hear a motion to accept as presented?
I'll make a motion.
This is Diana, I'll make the motion to approve the meetings as minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Any support?
And Diane will support it.
Just let him go.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposers? Approved. We got a commission meeting from the Downtown Development Authority for August 7th. Any questions on that?
No, but I see they approved some of their, front fix-up stuff and signs. People applied for it. And then I was wondering, it was brought up a couple times about the facade and the trees growing out of the top. I've had several questions lately about, are those trees growing out of the roof? I said, oh no, they're growing out of the ground.
They do.
Do they have any plans for, or could we just cut them down? Who owns that? Do we own that? No.
Gentleman owns the hardware.
Okay, so that was Chuck's too. Okay.
Yeah, that little garage sits behind there.
I knew that was Chuck's. I didn't know if we bought the front off
It
him and that. I
is
couldn't
private
remember.
property, so I don't know what.
Yeah.
Could we have Scott just send them a please clean up letter?
Well, just cut them down so it doesn't look like there's
Or you
trees.
can send them a violation.
Yeah, we'll have Scott send a letter.
Yeah. Or suggest that Tony's buy it and use it as an outdoor eating area.
That's not a bad idea. They might want to at this point.
Yeah. That's it.
And
Any other
I would just,
discussion on the minutes?
I would just note that, Bob Burns submitted his resignation.
Oh, we should send him a letter.
We
Thank
will.
Yeah,
you.
all that.
And we have two ladies that applied for the position in Victoria Devereaux and Lori Wiley. So
Who's Lori Wiley?
she works at the state bank.
Okay.
So I will be reaching out to both of them, and the DDA board will approve that next month, or one of them next month.
Do you have any other people on that board that are not showing up?
There's one member that has missed, but he's going through, he lost 2 homes on Lake Wixom during the flooding, and he's a little busy trying to get them back.
Okay,
One was a rental, one is his actual home, so he's missed, and then he came in June, and we didn't have a quorum, or July, because we didn't have a quorum. The meeting was on Thursday, July 2nd, and July 3rd was a holiday, so we did have a few people show up on Friday the 3rd, that there was nobody here. So,
okay. I was gonna say, because they'd both probably be good ones.
he's been very apologetic, and he said he'll be at the next meeting, so.
Do I hear a motion to accept approve the minutes of the Downtown Development Authority for August 7th?
This is Diana. I'll make a motion to accept and file the Downtown Development Authority minutes.
Support for that motion?
Diane will support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion to approve as passed. Moving on to communications. I hope you've all read all the way through and ready for a test on your review magazine.
Very funny.
Yeah.
I take it you did. Okay. Any other questions or any statements or anything about that? Okay, Saginaw County Parks and Recreation. Any questions on that? Apparently not. The MML meeting and, meeting notice. Any
Well,
questions on that?
I have a comment here. We need to designate a voting delegate from somebody, from one of our officials, if you read through that. And I'm wondering, Hart, is that something that you would normally do or not?
I don't know.
Does it say it's elected official?
I imagine
No,
that,
it says by action of one of your officials who will be in attendance to cast the vote.
I'd imagine that would be the president, but unless
Is he gonna be in attendance?
it's virtual, so
Yeah. Could he appoint?
he certainly could.
You can do that. Usually it's the managers that
Yeah.
attend those things anyway.
But,
So who will do it?
Do we need to make a
Do
motion,
that by vote or what?
So we could, yes, it is by vote, and,
Or do I just automatically go?
well, you're requested to designate by action of this governing board a member and an alternate. And so I think that would need to occur.
Is anybody doing this?
No. I'm not going. I'm not attending.
Yeah,
No.
this is all, but this is, I think this is done, isn't it, oh shoot, I
virtual.
don't think you actually appear, yeah. So,
It's all virtual, isn't it?
Yes.
Art?
Yes,
Yeah.
Well, I would,
is Horner gonna be our designated and then we have an alternative?
yes.
I'll
Would that be
I'll
Chris
go
Nimitz?
as the,
Oh, did it,
if
like,
he or she wishes.
This is an all-day thing, isn't it?
yeah, but the voting, they'll have a time frame for when you just gotta,
What
I
are they
think you-
voting on? Do you have any idea?
I think it's on the new elected officials for the MMO. Right?
yes.
Just,
For,
Just select the 6 members of the board of trustees.
yeah, so I would say that,
it's not necessary.
yeah, we have Owen, Hart and Jenny as the two that we would,
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna attend.
You're gonna take care of it then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're okay with that?
Okay, so it's gonna be Hartman
It's
and
up to you
Jenny?
guys.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, I'll just jot that down, okay. We don't need a
Need
vote
a
on
motion or
that, do we?
anything?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. we have
Is this
consensus?
satisfactory with the council?
Yes.
Anybody
Yes.
opposed to this?
No.
No opposition? Okay, that's what it'll be. Sounds good to me. Moving on to payment of claims. Do we have any questions? Come on, can't believe it.
Can't believe it, huh? Actually, it looked pretty good, I thought.
It did look pretty good. If there's no questions, are you ready for a motion, Dick?
Sure, we'll call for a motion.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the payment of claims in the amount of $103,220.30.
I'll
Support for the motion.
Yes.
Lois seconded the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposition? Motion's carried. Let's see. New business, the EDA facade grant application. We have 2 of them. Any highlights on that, Art?
Deb Woods of Victoria Devereaux, the first day that we were accepting sign application or grant application, she was in, even it was right when COVID was hitting, had her mask on and opened the door a crack and slid it through, and it is now completed. And if you recall on the grant application, that only projects which have have not begun prior to being awarded are eligible, and that the reimbursement grant is only after a project is paid for will the grant money be given. So all work must take place after the DDA board approves the award. Because of COVID, we allowed this to go through because nobody was working, construction wasn't happening. So this is the one that I don't want to say grandfathered in, but it was done just before. So I do think that she should receive the reimbursement, as did the DDA board.
Okay, do we have to approve these two?
Not necessarily, but as
Okay.
fiduciaries of the public dollars.
You're just letting us know.
Yeah, we did budget for this, so I
Mhm.
just want to make sure you were aware, and if you had any questions, comments, concerns, that we could rectify those now.
And the other one was the library.
Correct, which has not been complete yet, so we would not have to reimburse at this time.
Okay.
And they only asked for a 22% match, which I thought was interesting, but I'll take it.
Yeah,
So I just wanted to bring that to
they
your
don't want to be
attention.
greedy.
It was amended, is all I'll say.
Okay.
Looks good to me. That's fine.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it going, the, DDA approved them, so.
Right.
And we have no opposition?
What did I hear?
No, I think
Yeah,
we
we
should
don't
done,
need a
I mean,
motion
that
or
was just,
nothing, so.
wasn't that just for our information?
Yes.
Formality so that we got all the information yet.
Right.
Alrighty, moving on to the, go ahead.
So we have
Somebody said something.
a new resident in the industrial park, Tyler McGeehan, from Owasso, who owns Chesaning, 2 funeral homes in Chesaning, purchased Humpula's funeral home. And he put his new sign up there, which makes the other signs look kind of raggedy, old, and worn. And so I thought maybe we should update the signs that are there, so they're all uniform and look nice.
And paint one.
I agree. Yeah.
I
We've talked
agree.
about
Yeah,
that.
we talked about that
Many
before.
times,
That one
yeah.
was looking a little.
I don't think that's anything that we're gonna debate.
No. And that's ours. It's our industrial
Oh.
park. So
Yep, I'm all for it.
$425, good price. I don't think he's changed his price ever. Do you need a motion to accept the
Pull
bid?
it,
We do.
I make a motion to accept the bid from Dan Howman to repaint the industrial park sign for $425.
Support for,
Yes.
support for the motion?
Yes.
Diane supports that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposition? That motion's carried.
Bring your microphone.
Next item,
There you go.
the trash pump
Turn it up.
from Wolfile.
Yeah, this is Diana. My copy of the bill was too light to read. You know, where you could see wolf files just fine, but I couldn't see the figures. What is the amount on that?
Total,
So this is a
do the total amount on the bill.
Honda 4-inch
Go ahead.
trash pump. It is $2,009.88.
2009.88. Okay.
And Don, do you wanna talk about this? We discussed it at previous
Yeah,
meetings.
it'd be another 4-inch trash pump that could be used on, mainly on the storm sewer pumps, like when we lost power. We have backup power for the sanitary pumps, but we do not for the storm sewer pumps, so this would get us by an emergency situation. We do have one older one that we had tuned up to, so we would have two in case.
We discussed this before too,
Yep.
didn't we?
Last month,
Yeah,
I think we're all good on that.
that is a
Yeah.
state of Michigan purchase price.
you don't need a motion on this, do you?
That's just information, we don't have to approve this, do we?
It is money,
Is this something we didn't
Oh, okay.
budget for?
correct.
Do we have a
Okay.
motion?
I
Do we
make
have
a-
a motion for the purchase of the Honda pump?
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Support?
Let Jim second it. I would say that, but Jim did.
Okay. Seconded by Jim McPhail. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Yeah. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. We need the authorization for Mr. Howie to sign the USDA-RD grant document. Do we have a motion for that?
I'll make the motion.
I'll support.
Okay.
Good job.
Who made the motion?
Jim.
Okay, thank you. Support?
Me, Chris.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposition to this motion? Motion's carried. Consumers Light on Beaver Road.
This doesn't need a,
Information on that?
yeah, this doesn't need a vote, but on Beaver Road, they
Yeah.
replaced an old light with LED at a charge, no charge to us, but I wanted to make you aware that I signed off on this.
Okay.
It was part of a,
Here's the mail.
a resolution,
Relighting?
a resolution that consumers began in, May of 2016. They're getting around to replacing all of them.
They're taking them out of the middle of the road, right, and putting them over on the side?
They're changing the light bulbs is what this is.
I don't think we will.
They're still in the middle of the road?
I drove through there. It just looks the same to me.
Okay. Okay.
Just so you know, the fire department's gonna go take.
But if we say anything, it'll take another 6 months.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
This is an informational.
Correct.
Moving on to old business. Marijuana resolution.
And on this call is Adam Flory from Smith Oval. Adam is working with, I believe, Spalding Township, and you've worked with many other municipalities on what you can and cannot do, and I thank you for calling in, Adam.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Rowley, and thank you to the council members for allowing me to participate this evening. I appreciate it. I'm an attorney at Smith Oval. I practice primarily in the field of municipal law. I work with municipalities, primarily townships and villages, on a variety of matters, but including within that is marijuana regulations, and working with, in this area, I've worked with Spalding Township and Buena Vista Township in terms of implementing marijuana regulations in terms of permitting marijuana, and then a number of other municipalities in terms of drafting ordinances to prohibit marijuana. But I did provide a correspondence back in July that outlined a bit of the basics in terms of what is permitted and what are the typical regulations that a municipality is allowed to employ. And I'd be happy to give an overview of the correspondence if you like, or I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any. Would you like me to, Hunter, would you like me to kind of give an overview of the correspondence?
Why don't you just answer questions, okay?
Okay.
We've talked about this on several, that's just my comment. This is Diana Coots, I do have a question. I'm trying to think which page it will be. Pages aren't numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not page 4, it's on the back of the page. It says where a marijuana secure transporter may not hold title to marijuana. What does that mean?
Give me one moment. Wait.
Page 4, 5th bullet.
So, a marijuana secure transporter is going to be the type of license that takes it from the grower or the processor to the dispensary. So they're basically the ones who are transferring it, as in the name, from one place to another. And so the reference to not holding title means they don't own the marijuana, so they couldn't sell it themselves. So
okay, I see. So all right, I just thought that was a little bit. So the product itself, they have no interest in. They're just in the service of transporting, correct? Okay.
It's exactly right.
Okay.
Yes, exactly right. Were there any other questions that's any specific in the correspondence?
Yes.
No, that's the answer. Oh, okay.
I had a question. I read through this, and I was just wondering, since you've worked with other municipalities, what are the negatives that have come up that you've seen? Like for the police department, for the municipality, lawsuits, anything that we would have to worry about as the village?
Sure. So I would say that, in large measure, there's not been too many negatives. Now, for example, in Spalding Township, there was some discussion, of course, as to, what kind of crowd is going to draw, or what kind of, is this going to increase police calls, that type of thing. And it really hasn't. I was at a Spalding Township meeting, a few weeks ago. I think it was one in July, and the issue was raised, and I think the sheriff's deputy who was there, who covers Spalding, said that they've not actually received any calls. And I think that's largely because folks just don't know it's there. Because the state regulations, the local regulations are pretty comprehensive to not even let folks know that from the street, you wouldn't know what's going on. It's difficult to know, what's that they're even growing in there or processing. Now, of course, that's a little different if it's a dispensary where it's being sold. In that case, of course, the folks are going to know that marijuana is being sold there. But overall, it just doesn't attract too much attention from my experience. Of course, the positives are, it can be a financial revenue source to municipalities, both in the form of charging an annual license fee of $5,000 per license. So for every license that's awarded by the municipality, $5,000 can be collected from the applicant. And then also for dispensaries, there's essentially a revenue sharing arrangement with the state where each municipality that permits dispensaries, and so when I say dispensaries, I mean shops where you can actually go purchase marijuana. So for each municipality that has shops where you can marijuana there, until they receive certain revenue from the state. And you know, it's not like $1 million, but it usually it would deal with several $1,000s. And of course, it's impossible to pinpoint because it depends on how many shops are open in the state and how many shops are open in the municipality. But obviously, you know, so from a financial perspective, it can be a benefit. And then, you know, in terms of the negatives, I know there are some folks that just have I guess a sort of a principled objection to it, and I've seen that in a lot of municipalities. But as a practical matter, I've not experienced too many, you know, day-to-day negatives of it. I've not really heard about increased police calls. I've not really heard about increased crime. None of the municipalities that I've worked with have experienced any significant negative like that.
Okay. And on the other, I had one more. It's been on the radio. I've been listening to it on WSGW. I can't remember the town or city that it's in, but they've been discussing it all week. Sound bites of it.
City of Saginaw.
Saginaw. And they're talking about the distance, 1,000 feet from schools, 500 feet from a library. So we can set those parameters and we don't have to worry about discrimination against other businesses, lawsuits, or anything like that?
I'm sorry, you broke up just a touch there. Your question was worrying about discrimination.
The distance, it's been
a certain amount of feet from schools and churches,
Yes.
that type of thing.
Yeah. Do we have to worry about lawsuits on that for discriminating on where they can put it and how far from schools or senior homes or anything like that?
So no, you don't, as a general matter. Now, there are regulations already in the state that say you can only be a certain amount of feet. You have to be a certain amount of feet away from a school, away from a church, away from public park. There's nothing stopping you from increasing those regulations, and it's not, you know, the village is not going to be at a high acceptable level for any kind of claim of you know, unfair targeting of a certain business or anything like that. Because the village does have an inherent authority to zone property and an inherent authority to direct property only to certain areas of the village. Included within the correspondence, I believe, there was a recent Supreme Court decision that came out regarding caregiver marijuana, and that decision was out of a township on the west side of the state. But that decision reaffirmed the township's ability and a village's ability to basically say you can only do marijuana in these certain areas. So you can only do marijuana in a commercial district or in an industrial district.
So, Adam, if I heard you correctly, we could say that no more than 3 recreational buildings are allowed, but only in the industrial park at $5,000 a year, and that would be it, correct?
So that's correct. So how I would recommend it be done would you'd say only industrial zone properties. So this is what we would do. We would make marijuana a special land use permit, and so you have to come and apply before you engage in the use.
To the planning
and
commission.
say that it's only permitted on industrially zoned properties. So that covers the location. So you know it's only going to occur on properties that are zoned industrial. And then in terms of the number, if you were to amend your opt-out ordinance and you were to allow some forms of marijuana, you are allowed to limit the number. So you could limit it to 3 dispensaries, you could limit it to 1 dispensary, you could limit it to, you could limit it to 0 dispensaries if you want to allow growing. I mean, you have a lot of different options. Right now, Spalding just recently, as of the July meeting, I believe it was either July or June, just now allowed dispensaries, but up until just recently, in Spalding, we haven't allowed dispensaries until it was just growing, essentially, growing and processing. So you can absolutely limit the number, and you can limit the location of where they're located at. The only caveat that I would say is that if you limit the numbers low, we have to talk about a method to award licenses if you get more applications than there are licenses.
So we could do
So
a lottery.
for example,
We could do a lottery.
Lottery's an option, yep. Basically, the three options are lottery, first come, first served, or merit-based.
What was the last one?
A lot of municipalities want to do merit-based because it gives them the most say in who gets a license, and it kind of allows them to pick the folks who are best suited for it. Having said that, merit-based has the highest liability because you are directly selecting, you're directly selecting someone, which means you're directly not selecting someone else. And the folks who get not selected are going to say, are liable to say that you misscored their application. How we dealt with that in other municipalities that I've worked with is we've hired outside consulting firms. So we've said, no one from the township is even going to do the interviews. It's going to be this outside consulting firm who does the interviews and scores the applications. And that way, no one can say the township had any bias or anything like that. But to just directly answer your initial question, yes, you can limit the number of any type of license to whatever number you feel appropriate. And yes, you can limit the location where they are in the village. So you could say only industrial properties, only commercial properties, etc.
Thank you. Chief, do you want to
This
add
is
anything to
Diana Coons. Can I ask a question to Mr. Flory?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. My information is that because the federal law opposes our state law, right? We're in opposition on these. That these businesses do not have bank accounts. There's certain kind of records that they're told not to keep. And how do you see that as being a problem, or what's your experience been with that?
So I have not, I guess, had direct experience with either of those issues. I'm not aware of them not having bank accounts. I can say that, we generally, they've generally been pretty good about compensating the municipality where it's required. So, for example, in Spalding, there was a situation where we executed what's called a conditional use proposal, which means that the applicant had to do certain things to have a property rezoned. They had to put up a certain kind of fence, and they had to, make certain improvements to the property. And that was done pretty easily, it seemed like. And it seemed like, they were able to, they had the capital to do so. In terms of where they're storing their capital or whether that's in a bank account, I guess that's never come up to me. But I've never ran into a problem with it on the municipality side. I've never been in a situation where we couldn't get money out of someone, I guess, is what I would say. And,
No, that
but
wasn't
other
where
than
my
that-
question was coming from. That was not
Okay.
basic. I just wanted to know. Yeah, to me, as I look at it, and I've been on the planning commission any number of years, if we decide to do something on this, it's going to take a lot of time to take a look at it very seriously and decide what it is we want to do. It's not something we can just say yes or no. I also thought it was extremely interesting that they opted out medical marijuana, but they opted in recreational. Because to me, that's just straight kind of bizarre on the state's position. But I think, we had done a resolution on this hard some time ago. When does that run out? Do you know?
I don't. It was last February or March in 18. I believe it was March of 18. And I don't think you set a sunset on it. I think it was indefinite.
So that basically, if we don't want to change it, we don't have to do anything right now. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Adam, this is Don Ackerman. Isn't it also part of, you can require them to put up a monetary amount for law enforcement as part of their permit too?
Yeah, so that gets back to the conditional use proposal issue. So that's kind of a nuance of zoning law. And so how that works for us is, if you say, hey, we feel like we have a presumed need for additional law enforcement. We feel that because of this marijuana issue, we feel that it may attract additional 911 calls and therefore put a strain on our current law enforcement infrastructure. we're going to request that you fund another law enforcement officer for a certain period of time. That is a possibility, but it's sort of touchy. It's sort of touchy in terms of getting to that spot. And so, number one, the municipality cannot, say, well, we have to have this, or otherwise we won't give you the license. It has to come from the applicant. And so, a lot of times how that happens is, a conversation is initially had with the applicant, and you talk about, like, what are the things that the municipality is going to find desirable. And that's part of the reason I would recommend making it a special land use permit, because that way the applicant has to come to you, and as opposed to, to get a permit for the land, as opposed to just having it be a use by right. So, what you would do is, have that conversation with the applicant, and then if they were open to that, they could make an offer and say, well, I'm willing to, provide funding for one additional law enforcement officer for, X number of years, or however long they say. And then that could be sort of their offering to the council. But it's touchy from the perspective of, we're not allowed to demand it. We're not allowed to say you have to give it. It's kind of almost like we say, well, we sure would like this, and then the applicant says, well, okay, I'll offer it. But it's gotta come from their end. But that has occurred in a municipality that I've worked in, and I think it's, like I said, it's worked pretty well, and they've been able to increase their law enforcement force. But the other side of that is that it sort of has to jive with the facts. And so what I mean by that is, if you do it the first year, and then you notice that there's really no additional 911 calls, if that applicant tries to challenge it later, it could be tough to justify the reasoning for it. Because the initial reasoning is, well, we feel we're going to have additional 911 calls. We feel we're going to have additional need for law enforcement. But if the facts don't bear that out, if after a year you've not had any additional need for law enforcement, then, that sort of cuts against the presumed need for it. And so if the applicant wanted to challenge it and say, hey, I shouldn't have to pay this anymore because, we don't have any extra need for law enforcement caused by me, that makes it tougher to sustain it. But as an initial matter, if the applicant's willing to offer it, then that is something the council can consider, and that's something that the council is able to accept, if the applicant's willing to put up that kind of money.
And
like I said, that has happened in one of the townships I work with, where the applicant has put up funds to fund additional law enforcement.
Diana, to answer your question, it was February 13th of 2019, the council voted to prohibit marijuana with the option to reevaluate at a later date. And it could be, and you mentioned it can be amended, repealed, or replaced, but it didn't set any time frame.
Okay, that answers that question totally. Hard, thanks.
Yeah.
Mr. Floyd, yeah. Yes, can I ask this too? In your communication, you say that was the proviso that the state put on the licensing fee. Basically, that it's to cover additional costs that you might incur because of police and fire, that sort of thing. So that would be kind of hard to require, don't you think? If you'd require that extra fee, if that's why the state did it.
So I think the interpretation that we try to employ on that is that that $5,000 fee is more for administrative tasks like the processing of an application. There's enforcement of the ordinance. So there's lots of requirements that the applicant has to comply with. The fence has to be a certain height. They can't see from the street. And so the village could incur expenses having someone go out and make sure that all that is being complied with. And so I think that, the position we would take is that that's what that $5,000 goes towards, not additional law enforcement calls caused by, unruly behavior or, inappropriate behavior. But that, theoretically, that's a position an applicant can take and say, well, I shouldn't have to pay more for law enforcement because I'm already paying $5,000.
Right.
But that would be my response to it from the point of view of the municipalities.
Okay, my position on this, I'm not against it on principle. I just think that if we are ever going to do that, we're going to have to put a lot of time in studying and deciding, like zoning requirements, where it could be, you know, all these rules and regulations that I see per his correspondence, just also things that I have thought about. We do have this that we could decide at a later date. And my position on it is right now that maybe we should do that. Maybe we should, you know, have discussions on it, that sort of thing, but not do any approving or any changing other than what we already have. And that's just me.
Do you want to take it to the planning committee?
Pardon me?
Yeah, is it?
Would you like to take it to the planning committee?
Yes.
To go before the planning commission, if we're going to do it, very definitely, they're going to have to, the planning commission will write planning commission always writes these ordinances, right? So they're going to have to decide, is it a good idea? Where would we put it? What rules and regulations would we put on it? And we'd have to have an awful lot of information to do that. My question too is what does the community as a whole, what is the thoughts of people who actually live here? Are they interested in this? Are they violently? Because people will have, very divergent opinions on this, which I don't. I'm in the middle there someplace. But I think if you do it right, it's no problem. But I worry very hard about the doing right thing and about the legal things that could come down our way because of it and create a nuisance for us. Somebody's laughing. But that's the way I feel about it.
And if I could add one more thing on it, just in terms of the procedural aspects, I would recommend that the zoning issues be worked out first. The reason for that is if the village were to approve some form of marijuana, and then that form of marijuana comes in and someone opens up an establishment, you want to first have the constraints on where that can be.
I agree.
Because first, assuming you want constraints, which I would recommend that you do, because most folks are not going to want that in a residential area, or that's in my experience what most municipalities have taken that position. So if you don't have those zoning constraints first and you allow it, then they can go wherever until those zoning constraints are in place. And by that time, if somebody's already doing it in a residential area, they would be a non-conforming use. And so you don't want to set that up. And so procedurally, what I would recommend is first putting in the zoning constraints. In other words, first saying you can only do recreational marijuana in an industrial zone, or only in a commercial zone, or only wherever the planning commission and the council determine is appropriate. And then once you have the zoning regulations in place, then go back to your police power ordinance and permit whatever forms of marijuana you feel are appropriate, and then obviously you can limit it in number to what you feel is appropriate.
Well, I definitely agree with the special use permit that has to be part of it. That's the only way that I would approve it. But anyway, yeah, but you did answer my questions there, so I don't want to hold this up any longer. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Our police chief.
Any other questions of Mr. Flores?
Our police chief here would like to comment.
So I've done a little research in response to this, and I have a lot of information that I can give to you guys. I can tell you, Saginaw City advised me that if we're looking into this, they would be happy to allow us to go along with them, as they've started the process and they figure it'll be a year or two before they actually see it come to fruition. So there's some opportunity to maybe see that firsthand before we move on that. The law enforcement side of it, statistically speaking, they see no increase in law enforcement need across the board. It just hasn't been seen anywhere locally in Michigan. So I think that even asking for any type of funds for that would probably, if we had to show justification, I don't know that would be an option. So, but we can talk about more as you guys move forward if you're interested. Other than that, I won't yap any further.
So,
A lot to think about.
yeah, from my point of view, I think we need to get them all moving. If it's ordinances that we gotta look at first, then let's keep this moving instead of wait until we're approached, until we decide we wanna do it and then say, now let's go, and wait another 2 years. Let's keep this moving, and like, Chief said, we've got plenty of places around that have working, ordinances and working programs, and instead of reinventing this wheel, we can do a lot of it with what's already been out there. And we can play off somebody else's mistakes instead of making our own.
I gotta agree with you, Jim.
But I think we need to keep it moving. I think it should go to the planning commission first
Gonna happen,
and
we might as well get it
keep
going.
this discussion maybe every couple months, see where we're at and what's going on.
For this special use, we have to post something in the paper, is that correct, Adam?
Yeah.
But you only get to that if you're actually gonna do it.
Right,
You know, you don't need to post anything right now, right?
no,
Okay.
no, but I was thinking we
Right,
have,
so long as it's a, I apologize for interrupting, but.
I was just gonna say we
You're
have a
right,
planning
Mark.
commission meeting next week, that, you know, if we're gonna get the ball rolling, let's get it next week and
Well-
add it to the agenda,
Doesn't the planning do the zoning? I mean, they're gonna decide all of that stuff.
yeah.
So just get it started and see how they feel. I mean, they may, who knows what they're gonna do with it.
Yep.
But they'll hold the public hearing eventually and all
Correct.
that stuff too, so.
This is just, if it goes to the zoning, or to the planning commission, it's just to see what they don't,
What they can find out.
yeah, they're gonna find out and they're gonna try and see what they can come up with to find a zoning or make it work, right?
Or not work if enough people come
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
If I could just add one point, I think I agree with what everyone is saying. It does not need to be posted in the paper for a conversation to occur at the planning commission meeting. It would just need to be posted if the planning commission determined that it wanted to amend the zoning ordinance to enact this special land use requirement. Then we'd have to have a public hearing where notice would have to.
I said that just my point being that eventually the public will get to voice how they feel about it.
Yes.
And so rather than wait and take a survey or anything, we should go forward and let them have their chance in a few months.
Yeah,
Go and get it out there so that
yes.
they can watch for it
They
and
can,
know
yeah,
when.
yeah, they'll let you know how to do.
Yep, they will.
I think it's a good idea.
It's obviously gonna happen one way or the other.
eventually, yes.
So, I think
Or
we
you
ought
can
to
just
do
buy
that,
it
get
on
through
Amazon.
the planning commission.
Okay. I will add an addendum to their packet for next week and deliver them tomorrow. Hey, Adam, what are you doing next week?
Okay. I was hoping to attend the Village of St. Charles Planning Commission.
Hey, that's what I like to hear.
Thank you, Adam.
I'd be happy to make myself available. I'd be happy to make myself available. Whenever the planning commission meets. And do you have a date and time?
Yes, I'll give you a call tomorrow. We can go over it, if that's okay with you.
Yep, that sounds great, Art.
I have one question. How much will you charge us for this?
So our normal municipal rate
175.
for municipal representation is $175 an hour. And I should say that, just to be clear, we just charge by the tenth of an hour. And so, if it's something that takes, 5 minutes, that's not an hour, that's a 0.1. So a 0.1 of 1 hour. So we just basically run off that. And, obviously there's no retainer or anything like that that's necessary. But that would be the basic framework, would be $175 an hour, and it would just essentially bill depending on the amount of work that's done.
Okay, how will that conflict with, Gary Campbell from Dustin Campbell has represented us and done a good job. How will that conflict with Gary Campbell, Hart?
I'll have
What's that
to.
going to look like to him? And
Oh.
what will the problems be?
I don't see a problem. I do see that a conversation would need to happen, just out of respect for him.
And you would have that conversation with him before Mr. Flory came out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like tomorrow.
Yeah. About 8:05 tomorrow.
You and your early mornings, I swear.
Okay,
Yeah,
are there any other questions of Mr. Flory?
No, thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. And my pleasure. Thank you again to everyone. I very much appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and I look forward to the possibility of working together.
We'll talk tomorrow. Thanks,
Okay.
Adam.
All right. And with that,
Alrighty.
I'll step out of the meeting, and thank you again.
Yep, see you, Adam.
Bye.
Aye.
Adam
Flory,
Flory.
departmental,
Has left the meeting.
move on to departmental report. DCW report, anybody have any questions of Don? He's still there?
I do. The fire department next door in the water, do you think they're really gonna, do this stuff?
I would hope so, that they would want to, use the best practices they can when they're using our water system to prevent damage.
You think so?
I would hope they would want to.
Okay,
Yeah.
did they agree?
We had one meeting and I thought it was a good meeting, but there were some things I heard afterwards where I don't know if I was at the same meeting.
Okay,
But,
I was just curious.
I think we need to do what we can to.
Well, I do too, as long as they call you and let you know what they're gonna be doing. Do they call you if they have a fire and they're gonna open that hydrant on Bell and take that water somewhere else?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Depends on who's there first, normally.
And we offered, anytime they need assistance, give us a call.
Wouldn't you prefer they give you a call?
Yes, I would.
Yeah,
Like I said, we had a very good conversation, but there was some feedback after, and I don't know what changed,
hmm,
but I mean,
it's been an ongoing
yeah, I
problem.
mean, we all have the same goal, we want to protect the system for,
I was gonna say, we don't want the lines popping out of the ground, you know?
I mean, there's some issues, and the more we talk about them, I guess, the more that, we can work together.
Okay,
I just think we need to come up with some best practices to protect our system.
well, just like a step to follow thing, like when they're on their way to the hydrant, give you a call. Just- Do you get those calls when they come in as fire? You don't get them, do you? No. Okay.
Are there any other any other questions on this department, DPW report?
How's it going with just 3 people?
We're making do.
Okay.
We're definitely scrambling, but until we see what's going on. We're not, it's so new right now, we don't know where we're headed, I think.
I know, and right now the grass is not growing very fast, right?
No, it is growing.
Well, I mean, do you think we should hire a part-time mower?
We've discussed that, maybe 18, 19-year-old high school kids, something
Just to
like that.
get us
We've
through
had
the
one
fall?
one application for a hams, and we didn't hire them because we have Heather, and we discussed this the other day. We hadn't talked about going forward, but that conversation has been had, but we don't know what's gonna happen
Yeah,
yet,
okay.
per se.
That would be the only thing I would think would take a lot of pressure off everybody else if somebody was just mowing.
We talked
It
about
works
that.
best that way, but right now we're doing.
I know,
And we don't have all the information yet, and that's the worst part.
okay.
But it is out there on Facebook, and so people are starting to gather what's going on.
Really?
Yeah, they have put it out there.
Okay.
It's not something that we're gonna get in trouble for.
Okay.
Anything further? If not, let's move on to the police department report. Anybody have any questions on that?
I don't have a question, but I really like her report here. I just want to, that's the kind of police report that I really like to see.
Ask
Thank
her
you.
which part.
Well, I'm gonna update this a little bit. Prosecutor's office let us know this morning at a chief's meetings that they are opening up next week. They're gonna be open. It's gonna be still a pretty slow roll, moving forward, but, happy to see that. We might actually have a little teeth, when we're out taking care of business, so looking forward to that. Under the part-time employee part, I talked with Hart the other day. We've got 4 candidates that, we're looking at the applications. What I'd like to do is just do an initial, meet and greet with those 4 candidates with, Hart and I, just to see if they're even, worth us spending any more time. Like I said, I'm gonna be kinda picky, so, it may be a little bit of a process, but if that's okay with the board, then after we do an initial contact with people, we'll do a good background check on them, and then we'll bring them in and do an interview to involve whatever member of the board, whatever, however you guys wanna handle that is fine with me. But I'm hoping initially just to kind of begin to look through and not add one more thing to your plate until we are comfortable, a little more comfortable with people.
And
You know,
we could do.
you don't have to bring part-time people in here to be interviewed by us.
I thought maybe if
that's
the
fine,
police
just do
committee
it.
wanted to partake, that was the only question I would have.
I truly think the only thing we should be involved in is chiefs and managers
Okay.
and the upper.
And then, once you get the
Don't you
upper, they
think?
know what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't think that,
I don't think it's
You know,
necessary.
I wouldn't know what to ask.
You pick, you know
Yeah.
what you're looking for.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I
You
appreciate
guys
it. I
pick.
know we bounced that around and just wanted to make that available, but, again, it was just like one more thing on your plate, right?
Yep.
Well, what do the rest of you out there think about, interviewing
I
anybody
like
ever
Julie's
again?
comment on being picky. I like that. Yeah, we
Okay.
do need to be picky about a policeman. And at least I am very, very happy with Ms. Church, so I trust her judgment on being picky. So far it looks good here, but, yeah, keep looking.
Don't settle.
Oh, I trust me.
Okay.
Just a little FYI on this, it says, see the attached report, and it says this report is generated and received from Central Dispatch. If you guys flip to the, back side of my report, this report, is different than what Chief Neelater would give you, because this is actually generated and directly sent to me. So this is one way we're working on a little transparency and a little bit of you guys kind of knowing the scoop. I can give you the numbers of how many of these we wrote reports on. I can give you the numbers about how many of the traffic stops actually got tickets. But, and if you're interested in that, the report on the back side. Yep, okay.
Yeah, John sent us these.
Oh, did he send you these?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just as a matter of transparency, because I know that's gonna be, eventually be a question. That's what those are. That's straight from them. That's not us changing any numbers, so.
Now, with the whole COVID thing that's going on, if you hear of a large party going on at somebody's pool, do you swing by there and break that up?
I absolutely do not. If I get a complaint from someone, and we've had a guy call in and he had a concern about a business that wasn't requiring masks. I can go and, have a conversation with that place and, file a report, and then I send it to either the Attorney General's office, or, I can go to state police with it, depending on the situation, and then they deal with that.
But like private parties in backyard?
Yeah, in somebody's personal backyard, not likely am I even gonna consider
Okay.
that, yeah.
I was just gonna say, I've been sending them to the state police, and they've been taking it to the Attorney General and then the licensing, Lara, Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, and they've been building reports against these businesses to come go after their license, and so.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the businesses.
Yeah,
I'm hearing a lot more about the kids in
Yeah.
town.
Yeah,
At
go to
parties
the
and that
pool,
there is
yeah.
COVID out there now, so.
I can go and speak with them if it looks like that's an issue. I
I
can
don't think
encourage
they're
the
even in
parents.
town. The ones
Yeah.
I've heard of are out of town,
Yeah.
so.
So, but other than that, we, in people's yard, we kind of just allow them to
Okay,
hopefully use the best discretion on behalf of their family and their,
okay.
and their visitors, so.
Chlorine and hot dog kill COVID?
No.
A little bit extra mustard on there?
A little bit of extra hot sauce, so. Other than that, I'll have more next month.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hello.
Hi, Scott. We are on the building report and the active complaint log.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions on those two reports? The
No?
building report and the complaint log?
No, but I like your complaint log.
Hey, Scott, is Scott there?
Scott is here.
Yep, Scott's here, I'm here.
Okay. I was wondering
I'm
if...
having trouble with the phone, I didn't hear any questions if you asked me.
I haven't got there yet. So I was wondering if are you looking at that place on Chestnut Street again?
900 Chestnut, or what's the address?
I can't tell you that right off. It's the same one we've had trouble with the grass being nice. You know what the house number is there, Chris?
Yeah, you're talking about the one where Mark Sapansky built the house and that lady's living there now, right?
710 or 700?
Oh, 710 with the,
Yeah.
I don't think
I think
it's
it's
700.
710.
I think it's
710, I rolled through a junk vehicle today.
710 is that, the one with the parking, you took care of that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
this is
Yeah.
out further.
Which issue are you talking about, President?
It'll be the one with the 700 with the grass and it's an abandoned house. I don't know about abandoned, but there's nobody living in it.
Oh,
Yeah, wasn't it the old Christian house or something?
oh, my grandpa's house. You're talking about my grandpa's
Yeah.
house. I thought you were
Yeah.
talking about the one that wanted to build a shed.
Are you talking 631 where the grass is getting tall?
Yeah, where all the junk is in the yard and, that storage shed is across the street from it. Right by Babe Presidio's house.
The 900 block, this gentleman that wants to combine two lots and build a commercial structure, but he doesn't have enough lot to do it.
Yeah.
The other address that I possibly be at 631 was a two-story brown house, had trash and debris in the yard and tall grass, but that's
the
mostly
one,
been
yeah.
taken care of. Yeah.
And that's empty, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Is
That one's empty.
Yeah.
The
The
que-
one with the grass and debris is empty.
the question, the
For a
que-
month or so.
Vacant.
the question is, the one with the grass and debris is empty, correct, Scott?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Are they
are we
on?
going to get with the property owners for cleaning up that lot?
Yeah, I'll go after him again. I'll send him another letter out about the grass and the debris. The tenant has relocated, so I'll get with him again, send him another violation.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I received another complaint about 420 West Bell. We talked about that, I think that was my first month here, and went back to the land bank for demolition in the spring, then COVID hit, and so we called this week, and the environmental review has not been ordered yet, but it's still on the land bank for demolition. I received another call from a citizen that lives very near your house, maybe in it, on a Marcy Street address where the taxes had not been paid for since spring of 19. Well, on July 1st of 2020, they paid the 2019 taxes. So we will send them a letter on their grass, and that's 223 Marcy Street, Mr. Brookwood.
Okay, 223 Marcy, we'll get on that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Scott.
Thanks.
Appreciate you attending the meeting with us.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment?
No, sir.
I don't hear anything. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make said motion.
Second.
I support.
Alright.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone opposing? Motion carried. Thank you all for attending tonight. Appreciate your help.